Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to the Women in Theater podcast. We're your hosts, Haley Goldenberg
and Amy Andrews. Grab a cozy beverage and join us as we talk to women and gender-expansive folks about their experiences at the intersection of womanhood and theater.
On the pod, we cultivate open conversations across identities and professional roles.
We look for opportunities to support one another in growing our careers.
And we pool our collective wisdom to build the equitable theatrical spaces of the future.
Hello, beautiful people. Hi, Haley. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm good. It's really good to see your face.
It's great to see your face.
Shall we check in and talk some roses and thorns? What are your rose and thorn this week?
My rose this week is that we just came off of a really exciting and productive Women in Theater retreat.
Yeah, we did.
This is something that Amy and I have been doing for the last few years as a way for us to get away and brainstorm and re-envision and like really connect to why we're making this project and how we can make it the best that it can be and what we really want it to be. So it was a lot of fun. In addition to doing some really exciting and productive work for the project, we also had some really wonderful friend time, and it was super fun. So that's my rose. And for my thorn, I'm in a transient moment in my life right now. Coming back from spending a lot of time in Canada, which was glorious and wonderful in so many ways, getting to spend time with my spouse and make some really exciting art. But it's just really hard for me in these like moments of transition to go from like one life to a different life. My life is very different in New York than it is when I'm in Toronto. And so I'm just like struggling to get back into my habits, back into my routines, the growth pain and transient pain of trying to figure that out. I'm really grateful for my life. It's wonderful. It's just like something that is hard. So those are my roses and thorns. How about you, Amy?
Yeah, multiple things are true at once. My rose and thorn are the same this week, I think, which is that I have upcoming deadlines for both of my shows. I have writer reading coming up for Cycles next weekend, and then I'm working toward an exciting developmental reading process for To the Lighthouse in July. And I'm so excited about both of those things. And I'm so excited about having that deadline and the amount of work that's getting done on both shows right now. It's really wonderful. And I'm so proud of both of them and of the work I'm doing with my collaborators, Pat and Julie. And also, it's a lot of work. And there are a lot of other things calling for my time. And yeah, it's a challenge. It's a wonderful, wonderful challenge. And sometimes at moments it's a bit thorny too. So
that's real. Real. And I think that in this industry, we can feel a little bit guilty talking about the real stuff that's hard because we're just so grateful to have a development opportunity, to be working, whatever it is. We can be grateful to be in a development process, to be working, and we can still feel like that things are hard, and both things can be true. And I think it's just important to keep perspective. But yeah, I love that both of those things are true for you.
Yay. Me too.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I am so excited to talk to our guest today. Haley knows I am nerding out about this one, listeners.
Amy's been pumped about this for a week.
I'm so excited. Today we're talking to Deborah Wicks, Puma, who is the composer and music director behind musical adaptations of Mo Willems' work for Theater for Young Audiences. And Mo Willems, if you are not familiar, is like the hot children's book author whose books are, I can't even tell you how well thumbed those books are in my house, like in my daughter's group of friends. Mo Willems' books are delightful. The humor is incredible. The characters are spot on. They are, they're children's books. They're simple, they're fun, they have good life lessons. And Deborah has worked hand in hand with Mo Willems to musicalize them. So it's like marrying all the things I love. And I'm so, so excited to meet her and hear about her journey of doing them.
Yeah. So all you arts educators out there, all of you mamas who might be familiar with these books, composers who are interested in writing TYA material, this episode is for you.
One's free.
We're thrilled to speak to Deborah. Let's get going.
Let's do it.
Composer and music director Deborah Wicks Puma is one of the most produced theater for young audiences artists working today. Popular titles include Ella Enchanted, based on the book by Gail Carson Levine, with Karen Zacharias, She Persisted, based on the book by Chelsea Clinton, with Adam Tobin And Elephant and Piggy's We Are in a Play and Don't Let the Pigeon Drive the Bus with best-selling children's author Mo Willems. With Willems, she also created the animated movie Naked Mole Rats Getting Dressed, the Underground Rock Experience, and the upcoming animated series Unlimited Squirrels. She is music directed at theaters across the country, including the Guthrie, Oregon Shakespeare Festival, South Coast Repertory, La Jolla Playhouse, and the John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts. Honors include the Harold Oakes Award for Sustained Excellence in TYA, an Off-Broadway Alliance Award for Best Family Musical, 2 Parents' Choice Awards, and a Helen Hayes Award for Outstanding Musical Adaptation. A proud Mexican-American and Navy brat who grew up in Brazil, Portugal, and California, La Puma is a member of TYA USA, ASCAP, and the Dramatists Guild.
Hello, beautiful people. We are here today with composer and music director Deborah Wicks La Puma. Deborah, thank you so much for being here with us.
Well, I'm so excited that you brought me on. Happy to talk with you today.
Fabulous. Deborah, can you start us off by sharing your pronouns and telling us a little bit about what you do in theater?
Sure. My name is Deborah Wicks La Puma. I use she, her pronouns. And I'm calling in from sunny Southern California, the ancestral lands of the Tongva people. And what I love to do in my day job is be a TYA, Theater for Young Audiences, composer, music director, arranger, really whatever anyone will hire me to do. I'm on board for TYA.
Love that.
Love it.
Amazing. What's inspiring you right now, Deborah? What's lighting you up?
What I love is that the world of TYA is so connected to young people, and young people are really changing right now. And I think theater is such an important part of creating good humans and getting them connected with each other. And there's so much noise out there. There's so many screens out there. And theater is a time where we communally come together, connect as a people. We get our heartbeats and our breathing together. It's such a basic and wonderful human gift. And so I love that we're still creating theater, and specifically for young people, right? Because they need to hear about topics that interest them. They need to be heard. They need to feel like they're being heard and not talked down to. I wrote a musical called She Persisted based on the Chelsea Clinton book about 13 American women who changed the world. And we had the opportunity to do that in Washington, D.C. at Adventure Theater. And so one of the 7 women that's portrayed in the musical is Sonia Sotomayor, Justice Sotomayor. And she actually came to see the show,
Oh my God.
which, blew everyone's mind. It was so amazing. She is a huge champion of theater as well, and theater for young people. So she came to see the show. And, one of the things that she told the cast was, yes, my job is important, but your job is just as important because you're talking to and inspiring the future of this country. So, as you could tell, I'm just like, I have drunk the Kool-Aid on TYA and how important it is. And I believe it. I do believe it.
I love it.
Amen.
I love that passion. It emanates off of you. That story is also so makes my heart so happy personally, because my daughter and I love that book, She Persisted. When she was little, we read it all the time. And I grew up in DC going to Adventure Theater as a child. So it's so cool to hear about that work happening. Like, if I was a child and I went to the theater and one of the stars of one of my favorite books came to life in front of me, I don't even know what I would do. That's so special.
Yeah. Like all the actresses afterwards laying on the ground going, oh my God, what just happened? My brain is exploding. It was so beautiful. What a remarkable woman. And she came because the lead actress wrote her a letter. The actress who portrays her, Victoria Gomez, who's incredible, by the way. You're going to see her on Broadway any minute now. But she wrote a letter specifically to Sonia saying, you are an inspiration to me, to my mother who came to this country. And I just love these connections that we make and we can make through theater. So,
yeah.
Wow. Fabulous.
Amazing.
Well, Deborah, I'm excited to get into She Persisted and all of your other work a little bit deeper in a minute. But first, before we dive in fully, we have a little flash round of questions for you to get us warmed up and excited. So to get us
Okay,
started.
I'll try not to get stressed out.
Yeah, this is
No,
just
not
don't
stressful,
think,
just fun.
just speak kinds of questions. So the first
Okay.
question is, if you were an animal, what would you be?
I would be an otter. I
Ooh,
love otters. They're very playful, they're very active, and they live in water and on land. So I love them.
Love
Fabulous.
that. What is your weirdest hobby?
Mm. What is my weirdest hobby? Gosh, I love biking. Yeah, I bike everywhere I go. We only own one car between my husband and I, so I bike everywhere. I don't know if
Love
that's
it.
weird though.
I like it.
Love it.
What quote or mantra is speaking to you right now?
A mantra that I've had for a long time, which is done is beautiful. And how it works is that, I think as artists, we often have perfectionist tendencies and overthinking tendencies.
Yeah.
And so this is something that we came up with as a family, also for our children, for our three daughters, that you'd be working on a project, whatever that is, and you're like, is it right? Yeah. And so finally it's just done is beautiful. Sometimes you just have to say, I've done the work, I've done the time, and now I'm stepping away, and whatever it is what it is. And it's very useful to
Yeah.
let go.
Yeah,
100%.
and hard. That's
Yeah.
yeah.
Actually, I'm remembering that the origin of that phrase was my husband and I working at Interlochen Arts Camp when we were in college and building sets and painting sets. I think that's where it all originated from because, set building and you got 1,000 things to do. And it's like, that is going to work. Done is beautiful.
Great.
Love it.
Fantastic. Deborah, what is your favorite musical?
A musical that constantly inspires me is actually Tommy by The Who. And I love rock music. I'm a child of the 80s. And so like Jesus Christ Superstar was the first musical I really interacted with. And then Tommy, what I love about it is the epicness that rock brings to that story. Like the story is actually quite small, but that music is operatic in its scope. And so to me, it's about we're telling a story, we're exploding it into this huge epic feel of drama and operatic proportions. And we're using rock, a pop, not built for theater music, but using it in kind of a new and innovative way. So because of that, I've tried to look in my own work of like, what are the genres that are less used that can be used for dramatic effect? And I love lots of different music. I grew up all over the world. My dad was in the Navy, so I'm a Navy brat. So I grew up in Brazil, in Portugal, in Mexico, and in California. So lots of different musical influences. And so, for example, I've written a musical based on Shakespeare, Winter's Tale, with a whole Mexican folk genre of music. And I did that research and I got to dive in and find out how it ticks and then use Mexican folk music to tell a Shakespearean story, which maybe seems less innovative now, but at the time, no one was doing it. And I'm like, dude, this music is amazing. We need to do this. And then I also was able to write a TYA piece where we adapted Oliver Twist to Rio de Janeiro and sort of taking that Dickensian idea of the rich and the poor and the division of like, if you're rich, does that make you good? If you're poor, does that make you bad? And talk about those dynamics. But also for me, being able to go back to my childhood that I grew up in Rio and use Brazilian styles of music. So samba and bossa nova. And again, dive into that music, take what makes it tick, translate it into a musical theater form. So I love that. I love that stuff.
Cool.
Love it. Speaking of all of these different types of music, what is your song of the moment right now, Deborah?
The irony is I don't listen to music to relax because
it's work,
music
right?
is work, right?
Yeah.
If I listen to a song, I'm analyzing it, I'm thinking about it. I will say one of my greatest joys is listening to whatever my children are listening to. They're the gateway. We'll drive in the car and my daughter will just start playing songs for me. So, she played like Hot to Go or something. And I'm like, that's an amazing song. I also found what's that other big song that she has? Pink Pony Club.
Oh, yeah, that's huge.
I went into a dive on Spotify and I found bardcore, which is like medieval instruments playing pop songs. And I found a medieval version of Pink Pony Club. Hilarious, amazing,
I'm obsessed
sung
with
really
that.
beautifully.
That's awesome.
So I guess that would be the song I would say that
That's
was lighting up my
amazing.
life right now.
Medieval
Go find.
Pink
I
Pony
think
Club.
that's my favorite answer anyone's had to that question. That's
Very
incredible.
good. It's really good.
Also, they have a version of "We Didn't Light the Fire," the Billy Joel song,
Ah, love.
and it's all like Charlemagne and Pope and
That's
Avignon,
so funny.
and they rewrote the lyrics so it fits this medieval.
Wow.
It's brilliant. So
Wow.
there you go.
Thank you
So
for that.
good. Bardcore.
Great.
Amazing.
So, Deborah, you dropped a couple of gems about your childhood, and I'm so curious, how did you come into musical theater and the work you're doing now?
So I never got to do a musical until I got to college because, again, I grew up all over the world in musical theaters. I think it's changed now, but in the 80s, in the 70s, it was not as widespread as it is now. And so it was when I first got to college, I had listened to Jesus Christ Superstar because that was just a pop record and I had loved it. And then when I got to college, that was the first musical they did my freshman year. And so I auditioned for it and I got to be in the ensemble and I loved it so much. I fell really, really hard. In fact, there was a moment, in Jesus Christ Superstar, there's a moment where they're whipping Jesus, right? And there's a countdown. They're like 30 lashes. And you go 30, 29, and the whole ensemble's supposed to do it. And the director had to give me this note. He's like, Debbie, stop smiling. This isn't a happy thing. And I'm like, I'm just so happy to be here. I'm having such a great time. I can't help it, even in this moment. So after that, I was like, this is what I want to do. And I had already been trying to become a rock musician, a rock star. So I had a terrible rock band. No, I won't say a terrible rock band because my dear friends that were in it, we were doing our best. Our name was Technical Difficulty. Every time we tried to change our name to something cooler, like an amp would blow or something. So we're like, just Technical Difficulty. That's who we are. And so that was my aspiration going into college. Like, I'm going to be a rock star. And then I realized, A, I'm really not that cool. And then B, it's like musical theater. You can be a rock star in your own way, right? You can have rock and you can have classical music because I was already a classically trained pianist. So I'd been working on that forever. So I already had multiple musical loves in my heart, and musical theater was a way to be able to embrace all those sides of my identity.
Cool.
I love that.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Can you tell us a bit about what you're working on creatively at the moment?
Well, right now, I am working on a crazy show. It's not crazy, except that the process of it is super, super unique. So I've written a number of shows with Mo Willems, the very wonderful children's book author of Don't Let the Pigeon Drive the Bus and Elephant and Piggies, We Are in a Play. Well, 7 beautiful and strong theaters have come together to co-commission a holiday musical based on using the Mo Willems characters. So right now, we are finishing our rehearsal draft for a holiday musical that includes, we call it the Avengers of the Mo Willems universe. So it includes Pigeon and Elephant and Piggy and Unlimited Squirrels. So 3 different book series all together, all in this holiday musical. And the crazy thing about it is, usually when you have a co-commission, you start with one theater and then you learn things and then you have the second production subsequently. Well, because it's a holiday show, they are all premiering at the same time. So 6 out of the 7 theaters are premiering the show at the same time, going into rehearsal at the same time. And I honestly, I have no idea how that's going to work. I have never done anything like this before. So, we're trying to set up good communication between all the theaters and like one person who will take all the notes and funnel that to us, the writers, so that we're not hearing, 7 different voices in our head. And all the productions are different. With TYA, you really get a wide range of producing organizations. So, for example, one of the wonderful theaters is First Stage, which uses adult professional equity actors with youth performers. So they have very expandable casts. So with First Stage, their cast is going to be some adult performers playing elephant, piggy, pigeon. And then we have unlimited squirrels. And they're really going with the unlimited squirrels.
That sounds like the name of a different rock band, Deborah. Unlimited Squirrels. I'm just saying.
A good, yeah. You know what?
Definitely.
Not bad. So I'm writing a piece knowing that the ensemble moments could have up to 40 members singing it who are youth actors, right? So mostly treble, no bass singers because they're kids. And then we're also having another one of the beautiful theaters is Seattle Children's Theater, and they go with small, all professional cast. So there we're looking at like a 7-person cast. And so the trick there is we have to figure out all the double casting to tell the story of these unlimited squirrels where we have multiple squirrels. So people are going to be playing multiple parts. Do we have enough transition music for them to go off and put on their new squirrel hat or whatever it is? So these are the problem solves that we're going to have to do literally on the fly, and God help us. So hopefully it all works out.
7 is huge.
That's a lot.
Like even
That's
doing
a
that
lot.
at 2 theaters would be a lot. I feel like with
Is
two
a
different
bit of a
casts.
communication.
Sounds wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
exciting.
It's very, it is really exciting, slightly terrifying.
Yeah.
The other thing that I found writing this piece, which I've never done before, which is I'm basically writing somewhat of a sequel. Who gets the chance to write a musical and then kind of write a sequel? In my world, does not happen. But there's already 2 other musicals that exist out there that many of the people that come see this will be familiar with. So to me, it's a question of like, how many Easter eggs do we put in there for people who know the musicals? Little themes, do we pop in there? Do we bring back little jokes or things like that? And that's really a new experience for me, which is fun. So we're constantly trying to tread that line of like, this is clever or this is cheap. We don't know. And maybe the 6 different theaters at the same time will tell us.
Definitely. Yeah.
Wow.
I think you'll be able to get some feedback on that. That is an
Yeah.
interesting challenge, though. It's not something we do in theater a lot, trying to make it a piece that stands alone and then also speaks to these other musicals that are out there. Yeah. Interesting.
Right.
Yeah.
Usually, we're worried about being true to the book or the source
Totally.
material we're adapting. But in this case, we have multiple source materials. We not only have the original books, which people are definitely going to want to see what they love about the book. And then we have these other musicals too.
Yeah. So how are you navigating that, Deborah? Like, what's that process been like?
Well, I think where we came down with it was no full-on reprises of things, but again, in the underscoring, in little thematic material, transitions, things like that, that's where we're sprinkling in these moments, a couple of lines, a couple of jokes that might resonate with what happened before. One of the things that's interesting about it, obviously the 7 theaters that commissioned it, they're Mo Willems fans. They probably produced Elephant and Piggy and Don't Let the Pigeon Drive the Bus. So they already have actors that they've worked with who have played these characters. And so one of the choices we made was to make sure that you could use the same actor, right? So I wrote Pigeon originally as a baritone. So I'm making sure that in this show, it's the same kind of vocal range, and same thing for Elephant and Piggy, so that if you want, you could rehire those actors who already know these characters really well, who the audiences already see them as these characters. So that's fun.
Yeah, that's really
Yeah.
smart.
Deborah, how would you define the difference between writing for young audiences versus writing for adults?
yeah, people ask me, what's the difference between writing for adults and kids? And I have written for both. And the answer is it's really not that different. It's just a matter of, okay, there's a different amount of time, right? TYA is usually about 60 minutes long, but it can cover the spectrum of human experience from deep grief, great joy, all of those things. But usually it's surrounding a young person's perspective or some experience that a young person can relate with. TYA shows, they play directly to children's questioning who they're going to be, where they're going, how they fit into the world. And so a great musical for kids can build dreams, inspire empathy, and make the vulnerable ones feel seen. So that's what we're really trying to do.
It's funny you describe those things, and I'm like, that's what I love as an adult who goes to see theater.
Yeah.
So it's great.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and when you're creating a TYA piece, it's not like you're saying this is just for kids. This isn't for adults. Ideally, I love to go to see TYA too because it's hopeful, energetic writing. I feel like the difference between TYA and adult theater is often, do you leave with hope, right? Because many adult pieces, it just leaves with, the world is crap, isn't it terrible, right? That's too bad. And TYA, you know, you can't do that. You can't do that. And I never want to do that, even in my adult pieces, right? I want to build hope. I want theater to bring people together and build that connection. But one of the many reasons why I love it so much is also that efficiency, right? If you have an adult piece, you've got 2 hours, maybe 2.5 hours to tell a story. In TYA, you've got 60 minutes. And so you have to do the exact same arc, beginning, middle, end, character development, song development, themes. You have to do it all in 60 minutes. So it is incredibly efficient. And I love that beauty. I like to describe it as like the bonsai tree of theater, where you take the giant mighty oak, but you just reduce it down and you keep all of those characteristics, but you make it into this beautiful miniature. So that's the way I like to think of it. It really demands clarity and precision, and the audiences are completely honest, right? Adults will be polite and kids will not be polite. They will get bored. They will start asking, when can I go to the bathroom? They will start shuffling with their programs. But because of that, like I've now learned to write, I'm always thinking about the wiggly kid in the audience. And are they wiggling because they're uncomfortable because the moment is filled with tension? Are they wiggling because two people are singing about how they love each other? And that's kind of like, ooh, and they have a huge reaction to that. Or is it, oh my gosh, we didn't need that second verse on a slow ballad? I now have like this rule of like, you can only have a ballad for a maximum of 1 minute. You know, you got to keep things moving, people. They like to bounce in their seats, and you know, that's a great challenge. It's a great parameter to kind of set for yourself. And so when we're creating pieces and we're going through the development, the workshops, and even the preview process, that's what we're looking at. Where are we losing the kids? Is it because they're confused about what's happening? Have we lost the clarity? Is it because a character's going on too long and we already have that information? So they're like, got it. Mom is sad. Great. Let's move on. You know, that's the challenges and the joys of working in TYA versus adult theater, where you have the same challenges. I'm going to say you do have the same challenges, but maybe
That's
not.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I was like,
the
clarity,
super
like,
honest feedback.
Are we losing? Yeah, it's the feedback. That's great.
Cool. I'd love to shift gears for a little bit and talk about womanhood. Deborah, I know that you, in addition to being a champion for TYA, you're also a big champion for women musicians and writers, which we love. And I'd love to hear about how womanhood fits into your identity and how it fits into your theatrical work.
Yeah. I really got into writing musicals because when I started doing musicals in college, I recognized that there were not enough roles for women. You know, my first musical was Jesus Christ Superstar. There's like one female role. And then they did Evita. There's like one female role and then one other woman gets a solo. And I'm like, F this. This is terrible. So I'm going to write some shows where women not only have a role, but are really a part of it. So my honors thesis in college was doing an adaptation of the book of Genesis and Adam and Eve. And so I chose to make God a woman because yes,
Love
right?
it. You were ahead of the curve,
Yes.
Deborah.
Love it
God
so
is a
much.
woman.
God, I mean, yeah, right. So it's like, why not? So that's where I started. And every single piece that I create, I'm always aware of like, is there a gender equity in the cast? Can there be even more? Can we highlight even more? Because let's face it, even in the auditions out there, there are so many women out there, performers who are doing the work, incredibly talented, incredibly trained, and they're fighting for not a lot of roles, not the same amount of roles. So I try and do that with all of my shows. I'm very excited that She Persisted, we decided to do with an all-female cast. And now I'm working with a group called Maestra Music, which I also am a big champion of. Maestra Music helps to support women in musical theater. They have a mentorship program. So I've been working with some wonderful up and coming composers and lyricists and trying to guide them in that process of how musicals work. The other place where I've noticed a real gender discrepancy is in pits, in orchestra pits everywhere. I mean, even in classical music for sure, but in musical theater. And so now I've noticed, even as I go in and work with, and let's face it, there are very few theaters who can afford to have live music. But when they can't afford to have live music, I try to ask them to really see, are there women who could also fill these roles? I know you got your usual dudes that you go to. I mean, and everyone does. I have my usual dudes and I love them. But yeah, there's probably some up and coming dudettes that you could go to who need that training also. And so even my 3 daughters, I train them up and they have all played in pits and they love it because playing in an orchestra pit, just FYI, is the most fun you will ever have. Because you're creating music, it's dynamic music, it stops and starts. It's really challenging in a great way. And then you get the goofiness of the actors. You can make fun of the actors. They'll never hear it. It's great. Like there's this whole other micro world down in that pit. And musicians are just goofy, fun, nerdy people, just like actors, but different. I will say that as a woman, you know, I've always been really proud of the fact that I'm one of the few women composers out there. But the biggest challenge for me as a composer was that I am a mother of 3 daughters. And so just trying to keep work going, even as I'm trying to juggle being a mom and trying to be the best mom that I can. So that meant finding those moments to do my work around everything else in life, right? So God bless my husband. He has a very normal job and a steady paycheck. So I'm on board to pick up the kids from school, to drop them off, to go to the teacher parent conference, all those things that come with parenthood. And then, oh, by the way, you have to write a song today. You've got 2 hours worth of daycare, go. So the great challenge of that is you don't have time to overthink it, right? That done is beautiful comes back, which is I have 2 hours to write this song. That is all I have. I will finish it and that will be it. And in some ways, I think I write better because of that. And it's really taught me to be incredibly efficient with my writing and not overthink it too much. And so writer's block is not an option when you're a mom, right? You just don't have the time. So talking about women in theater, the gender gap between male and female composers in the theater is still huge. And in theater for young audiences, women make up only about 30% of all the playwrights and composers for the last 10 years. The Center for Scholars and Storytellers, they do a great job gathering data to help understand where the media is in gender and diversity and how it's impacting children. So one of the recent findings was about the importance of original content in TYA. In the 2019 season, 90% of the most popular titles were adapted titles, but original content, 5%, had the most diverse and equitable creative teams in terms of race and gender. So, I mean, I think you see this playing off in a lot of areas of theater. I mean, especially now, right? I just went to a TYA conference that happened the week after half of these theaters got their NEA funding pulled. Everyone is in shock. Everyone is trying to figure out how are we going to stay afloat. And so they're trying to survive, and when they're picking their season, they're looking at what do we need to do to make sure we sell tickets, that we stay afloat, even if their heart is completely like, we want original content, we want more diverse content, we want to work with new people, who are those young women and people of color that we can work with. But they also just need to make sure that they're around to do that work. That is what the conversation in TYA, as I'm sure in all theater, is at this point, of how do you balance what you truly care about and knowing what the industry needs with, but yes, in order to do our work, we also still need to be able to pay people.
Yeah. Amy
And
and I
sell
were just having a
tickets.
conversation about this the other day about regional theaters, doing the same shows over and over again that have like sold tickets in the past. I mean, this is why you see shows like Jersey Boys or Million Dollar Quartet or whatever happening all over the country. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with those shows. They're great shows and they sell for a reason. But,
Yeah.
it's shows with a bunch of white dudes about a bunch of white dudes doing white dude things, for
Right.
the most part, right? Like, so
Right.
I do think that there's, this historic thinking of like it's an either or. It comes with a lot of risk, but I feel like people are hungry for new stories and hungry for new voices, and so it is risky. And I hope that this is a moment where we can come together collectively and prove like actually this does sell. Like new original content sells. Like new voices sells. I see this sort of like binary thing of we either need to like make money and sell tickets or we need to like do the right thing. And I'm hoping to see a direction of like doing the right thing is actually going to sell tickets, and some innovative thinking and some thought leaders kind of stepping forward and saying, yes, like we're going to take the risk and try that and see what happens. We'll see. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's my hope.
Well, and to your earlier point, Deborah, I mean, talking about the impact of TYA on young people, like I feel very strongly. I'm raising a child in New York City, and we've got so much amazing diversity here. And I love that she gets to see that reflected in her classroom and in her community and in the theater that she goes to. And I know that's not the case for children all around the country. And the more that we can introduce children to people who are different from them, right? Especially when they're living in homogenous communities. It's so important for raising the future population of this country. It's so important.
Yeah. I mean, I agree 1000%. And in the last census, 50% of young people under 18 are people of color. 50%. So that is the community that we're serving. So I feel like TYA has done a great job of making sure that diversity is represented on stage. So with the actors that you see, that they make sure that it represents the communities that they serve, that kids see people that look like them up on the stage. Where we're still behind is backstage. That's where we still need to bring people up. And really that work is being done in educational theater programs everywhere, right? Are they outreaching to different communities that wouldn't necessarily sign up for a musical theater summer camp and saying, come and take this musical theater summer camp and you'll love theater. You'll fall in love just like the rest of us, and you'll keep coming back and we will welcome you into it. So like, to me, that's where it really starts is kids.
Yeah, it's like a whole pipeline and trickle down effect.
Yeah.
There.
It's a pipeline. And if they become theater artists or not, it doesn't matter. They also become theater lovers. And so they're the ones who are going to be going to the theater. They're going to be the ones who want to see those stories that represent themselves. So that's where it starts.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
God bless education directors all
Yes.
around the
Amen.
country.
Totally.
Yes.
Well, we're coming up on the hour and we want to be respectful of your time, Deborah. So before we go away today, there's so much more we could keep talking to you forever.
more.
There's so much to get into. But I want to ask you, what are you most proud of in your life and in your work so far?
It's a great question. I'm really proud of the work I've been able to create with really amazing collaborators. I've had the joy of working with multiple collaborators and again, creating work that I feel brings diversity to the stage, brings new and interesting stories, and helps bring kids and families together in that beautiful community of theater. So I know that when there were those times as a mother when I wasn't able to be there for my kids, when I wasn't able to pick them up, or I might have missed a concert or something like that, I know that my kids appreciate what I was doing and why I was doing it. And so they know that even if we made those sacrifices, it was for this thing that I'm passionate about and that they recognize has value.
You've been such a wonderful guest. Thank you so much for being here with us. We are so grateful that you shared your wisdom with us and our listeners. Before we run, could you let our friends who are listening know where they can find you on the internet?
So I have a lovely website, which is www.crunchynotes.com.
Ooh, Crunchy Notes.
Music you can sink your teeth into.
Love it.
And that shows all of the musicals I've created and, of course, celebrates all the amazing collaborators that I've worked with on that. I also have an Instagram handle. My Instagram is at DW
Thank you so much, Deborah. This was such a delight. We're so grateful that you shared your hour with us.
It's such a joy
You're
to
so
meet
welcome.
you. Thank you.
Great to meet you, too. Blessings on all of you. Thank you, ladies.
Wow. I'm so glad that we got to talk to Deborah. I know you've been buzzing about this for so long, but I didn't know what was coming for me. That was really good.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. So fun. What a great interview.
Yeah. I think the thing that stands out for me the most is this done is beautiful thing, which was a theme throughout the episode.
I need that in
I
my
need
life.
it too. I think there's a lot of folks on listening who might need that. I've been in a place lately of like a lot of heaviness and feeling really hard on myself, and I think that done is beautiful is such a beautiful mantra to help work through some of that like sticky icky stuff when you're having a hard time just like finishing the thing and like not judging yourself. Yeah, so I needed that, and I'm gonna take that into my week. How about you? What's your big takeaway from today?
Yeah, done is beautiful. Another thing that really stood out to me from this interview is the idea of theater as a means of teaching our young people, which like that's not a new idea. Like, yes, theater is part of our culture, and it is how we teach our young people how to be humans and how to be humans in community with other humans. And I think in this particular moment where funding is being cut and where there are a lot of hard conversations happening about the value of art to our society, I feel like art is kind of being pitted against other public priorities. And, you know, artists too, we often fall into the trap of being like, well, it's just theater. It's just, you know, it's light, it's fluffy, it's fun, but it's not. It's so important and it's so integral to how we build a functioning society and a sustainable functioning society that lives into the future. That was a big takeaway for me from this interview.
Yeah, and it's a place where we still gather, and that's like at the bedrock of what we're doing. That's something I was thinking about over the weekend. I had a beautiful park day with my bestie, and I was looking around and seeing all these people gathered. I said this to her. I was like, we've been doing this for all of human history, like gathering in a place to like enjoy the sunshine in this case. Like this applies to theater too. Like it's a place where we've been gathering since the beginning of time to tell stories. And I just think it's fundamental to who we are as human beings. And it's easy to think it's frivolous, but at the end of the day, it's one of the few places where we can still have an experience as a community with people that we know and love and people we've never met before, and like share a beautiful experience with strangers. And I think that that's so rare these days, and that's
so
special
important.
and important to remind us how to share space, how to like be a community member, be a villager, all those things. Yeah,
all of that. Amazing. Well, shall we talk about our trailblazers of the week?
Yes, you go for it, Queen.
I will go for it. My trailblazers of the week this week are Joy Huerta, who's the composer of Real Women Have Curves on Broadway, and the entire cast, crew, and creative team of that show, because I had the privilege of seeing it this weekend, And it was amazing. I loved the celebration of womanhood and girlhood. Haley, you need to see this show because it speaks girlhood, and I know that that is your language. It was a beautiful celebration of womanhood and a delving into issues that are super relevant and resonant today, and a celebration of women's bodies, all kinds of bodies, and women's realities, all kinds of realities. And I just thought it was so gloriously done and like exactly the injection of womanhood into my veins that I needed this weekend. So props to everyone involved with Real Women Have Curves on Broadway. If you haven't already, go to see it. Go enjoy it. That's
Love
me.
it.
Who is your trailblazer of the week this week, Haley?
My trailblazer of the week this week is Nikki Lynette. She is a composer and creator of the musical Get Out Alive, which was at the NAMT Festival a couple years ago. She is a fierce mental health advocate and activist and really dives deep into mental health in her musical and in her work in general. I think it's really awesome how Nikki advocates for mental health in her work and speaks to the experiences specifically of Black women. I think that the show Get Out Alive is fantastic, and I'm hoping that you're going to get to hear more about it soon. It seems to be picking up steam right now. Nikki's a wonderful human and a great role model, and if you don't know her work already, it would be a really good thing to do this week to check it out. So
Cool. There's your
Nikki
personal invitation, listeners. You have your to-do list.
Yeah.
Fabulous. Well, I want to hype you up today, Haley. I want to hype you up because, oh my gosh, we just had such an amazing retreat this weekend, and I always love being able to be in space with you and being able to take focused time for this project. And such is the nature of getting people together in a space that, like, the energy, the vibes at times were not what we were expecting. And the way that we came together as a team and just kind of rolled with it and made it work for us and worked with the energy we had and said, no, patriarchy, we are not going to prioritize capitalism and productivity over our personal well-being. Instead, we are going to hold space for each other and hold the space for this project that it deserves. And I so appreciate you doing that with me. You're such a wonderful collaborator, and it's such a joy to work on this project with you.
Oh, thanks. Well, I want to hype you up today, Amy, because listeners, you may not know this, but while I was away working on Life After, Amy was spearheading this whole project by herself. Shout out to our fantastic...
With our amazing team, let's not forget.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, shout out to our fantastic team for all of their support of her as well. But I want to specifically shout out the work that you were doing while I was away to keep this machine going, to keep the love alive, and to keep us moving forward in the direction we want to go to truly make the change that we want to see with this project. I'm so grateful for you. So thank you, Amy, and thank you to our amazing team for all of that. That's me hyping you up today because you rock.
Yeah. Thank you, Haley. Thank you, team. We love you, Team Women in Theater.
Yes.
All right. And we love you,
listeners. Jinx.
Yeah. Well, we do. Thanks for listening to this amazing interview.
Yeah, we'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Women in Theater podcast. We're your hosts, Haley Goldenberg
and Amy Andrews. If you like what you heard, subscribe and give us a 5-star review wherever you listen.
You can also follow us on social at Women in Theater Project to make sure you never miss an episode.
The music for this show is written by talented Women in Theater community member Chloe Geller.
Thanks again for listening, everyone. See you next time.
Bye.